Tonight on News 3 at 10, we now know the name of the man killed in a drunk driving crash over the weekend as the suspect appears in court.
The search continues for a missing Wisconsin teen believed to be in danger after her parents were found dead.
And a town ravaged by flooding is looking at creative ways to solve their problems.
This is News 3 at 10.
And thanks for joining us. Cash bail of $35,000 has been set for the driver charged in a fatal car crash over the weekend. The Dane County Sheriff's Office says Nicholas Hanley was drunk when he hit a car that was turning into a pumpkin patch.
Officials have identified the man who was killed in a crash as Kevin Sylvie of Sun Prairie. Keely Arthur was at the scene and shares more details tonight.
While it isn't Hanley's first time drunk driving, it is the first time authorities say his actions cost someone else their life. An incident that has the people of Sun Prairie shaken.
You don't go to the pumpkin patch angry or sad, like everybody's happy when they come here.
It's the quintessential autumn activity.
There are donkeys and goats up the way, so they come and feed the animals and go pick some apples.
For decades now, generations have stopped by Jerry's Fall Harvest in Sun Prairie, now run by Russell Spiegel, to pick pumpkins, apples, and up on that special feeling you get when you come here.
The worst that could happen is that they're going to maybe have too much sugar. That's not too bad.
But on Sunday, two people looking for that wholesome experience never made it.
It gave me chills, and I mean, it was weird.
That afternoon, Kevin Sylvie and an unnamed passenger were turning into Jerry's when police say Nicholas Hanley, who was intoxicated, tried to drive around him, striking the driver's side, killing Sylvie and injuring the passenger, who was airlifted to the hospital.
There's some skid marks just out the way. You can see through this little trail here.
Hanley's in person with
Today, Hanley appeared in court, facing charges of homicide by intoxicated use of a motor vehicle and a fourth OWI offense.
He has a lifelong history of drinking and driving, starting in 1993 and 2003. Both of those were first offenses because of Wisconsin's 10-year limit on counting.
A court official set $35,000 cash bail and ordered Hanley to stay away from Sylvie's family.
I just can't imagine what they're going through, and I feel real bad about that.
Back at Jerry's, Spiegel is thinking about what can be done to prevent any further tragedy.
I spent a lot of time in the pumpkin patch and at the barn and all that kind of stuff, and I see this road is a very busy road.
He says while he knows this incident involved a drunk driver, lower speeds, expanded no passing zones, and better signage could help others who, like so many of us, make the same turn into a pumpkin patch this time of year.
I don't know what rules they apply, and I'm not asking for special treatment, but it might be worth a look.
Now we are learning more about the victim tonight. Kevin Sylvie worked previously at Meritor for 10 years. Staff there say they are incredibly saddened to learn of his passing. Their full statement is up on our website, channel3000.com.
Keely Arthur reporting tonight. Keely, thank you.
Authorities continue the search for a missing Wisconsin teen whose parents were found dead in their Barron County home early yesterday morning. Police believe Jamie Kloss is in danger. An Amber Alert has been issued for her. The Barron County Sheriff said that a tip placing Jamie in Miami that came out earlier today is not credible. The sheriff says that Miami police tweeted that information without consulting with Wisconsin investigators. Jamie was last seen on Sunday at a family gathering. Police got a 911 call from her home early yesterday morning, and that's what led to the discovery of Denise and James Kloss. Autopsies will be done on them tomorrow.
The man accused of killing his wife 30 years ago will go to trial. Court records show Mark Bringy pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder today. His wife, Lori Bringy, was found dead with a single gunshot wound to the head in a wooded area just west of Poynette in 1988. Mark told law enforcement that his wife had committed suicide. 30 years later, he was arrested in Arizona for first-degree murder in connection with his wife's death. He is scheduled to be back in court in March.
A breezy, cool day for us here in southern Wisconsin. What does the rest of the week hold? Here's meteorologist Dave Caulfield. Dave.
Well, Eric, cooler temperatures are on the way for tomorrow. A cold front coming through southern Wisconsin tonight, bringing about 10 to 15 degrees of a cool down to our neck of the woods starting tomorrow. Downtown Madison, the Edgewater Skycam, looking at those mostly clear skies right now, 48 degrees, so we've dipped into the 40s. West-northwest wind at 3 miles per hour. Some other temperatures, 48 in Lone Rock, 46 in Mineral Point. Basically all of us in the 40s, and we will continue into the 30s later on tonight. Still about 10 to 15 degrees warmer, though, compared to this time yesterday. That wind now has a little bit more of a northwesterly track to it, and that's the way it will stay into tomorrow, but the wind not too bad at about 5 to 10 miles per hour tonight. Another breezy day on the way for tomorrow, helping temperatures really stay in the mid to upper 40s for highs, but at least we will get some more sunshine. We'll talk about the up and down temperatures to end this week, plus if we can see a few more flurries in your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Dave. Nearly 2 months after flooding covered Rock Springs, the village is still struggling to put the pieces back together. Amy Reed spoke with people in town about their recovery.
The signs of flooding are still very apparent here. The library is locked up and gutted. And over here, markings comparing this year's flood to 2008. But those are just two examples. Up and down Main Street here are a number of stories of people who are impacted forever by what happened just a few months ago. Every day in Rock Springs uncovers something new.
It's still destruction in here.
These days, for Gary Clement, that something new is almost always something ruined.
Just look around, I find something every day that's destroyed, you know. It's like, oh man.
His auto shop is now more junkyard. And when we say every day uncovers more destruction,
Oh, look at that.
we really mean every day.
Believe it.
Even 48 days later.
This thing floated, it didn't get any water in it. Or, no, it did, dang it. Ah, yeah, it's a shot.
It's a lot. A business you worked to build from the ground up destroyed 7 years later. Enough to make you lose your breath. But for Gary,
Can't breathe the best at times.
that's not what does it.
I got a mask in there, inside my throat. I couldn't breathe, that's why I went to the hospital.
On the day Gary went to the hospital to find out if he has cancer, he came home to this.
I just feel like I just want to walk away. Just leave everything, you know, just... God, I worked so hard, you know, to build.
The town is considering something similar, leaving. Half of downtown was torn down in 2008, and now what's left is abandoned by this year's flood. The village board met this week to discuss moving downtown away from the Baraboo River. Not a bad idea in Gary's eyes, but he doesn't want to go.
You know, I got customers that became friends, you know, I like this town. You know, it's perfect.
But in 48 days, no signs. Every day won't be less painful than the last. Maybe leaving is what he has to do.
It just seems like bad luck. You know, gosh.
In Rock Springs, Amy Reed, WISC News 3.
The village board discussed the possibility of moving the downtown in a meeting last night. No one from the board would agree to an on-camera interview today to talk about it further.
A trial date for a federal lawsuit challenging Wisconsin's legislative boundaries has been set for April. The case is back in the state after the U.S. Supreme Court declined to take the case this summer, citing a lack of standing. The original lawsuit was filed 3 years ago by Democrats who argued Republicans who control the legislature drew political boundary lines to give them more power. Now Democrats filed a new lawsuit adding more voters and plaintiffs to address concerns raised by the Supreme Court.
Some Wisconsin farmers are taking part in a historic harvest right now. They are getting ready to send their hemp plants off to processors in the coming weeks. The state launched a pilot program this year requiring farmers to become certified to grow hemp. 250 farmers are licensed to grow it, and more than 1,800 acres were planted this year. The Department of Agriculture, Trade and Consumer Protection tests hemp plants to make sure they have less than 0.3% THC. That's the psychoactive chemical found in marijuana. A center that helps the homeless in Dane County is recognizing 1 year of service. The Beacon Center in Madison celebrated today with music, cake, and face painting. The center helps people in a variety of ways and partners with 17 different nonprofits. It offers shower facilities, lunch, and helps people find things like housing and jobs.
A free health clinic is closing in Rock County after 46 years. First Choice Health Center provided free pregnancy screenings, birth control, and sexually transmitted infection testing. Directors say that the Affordable Care Act allowed many people to stop using the service, which eventually led to a cut in funding. They say their priority is now helping those who still need the services to find a place to go.
There's only a finite amount of people that we can serve, and there are always people, unfortunately, who fall through the cracks. And it's trying to figure out how to close those gaps so fewer and fewer people do.
The clinic has already stopped providing services at its Beloit location. It'll close its Janesville location October 31st.
Next at 10, mystery continues to swirl around the disappearance of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. What some in Washington say should happen next.
And before we go to break, an update of the Brewer game out in Los Angeles. Game 4 NLCS tied at 1 in the 6th. We'll be right back. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is in Saudi Arabia right now.
He's expressing concern over the disappearance and murder of a Washington Post journalist. Angelica Alvarez reports.
Turkish officials called off their search of Saudi Arabia's consul general's residence tonight after Saudi officials were unable to join. But police were finally able to search the Saudi consulate and say they found evidence that U.S. resident and Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was killed there. He was last seen entering the consulate 2 weeks ago. In an interview with the Associated Press, President Trump criticized the mounting global condemnation of Saudi Arabia, saying, quote, "Here we go again with your guilty until proven innocent." In a separate interview, he says Saudi Arabia's king and crown prince both deny any knowledge of what happened to Khashoggi.
And it depends whether or not the king or the crown prince knew about it, in my opinion. Number one, what happened, but whether or not they knew about it. If they knew about it, that would be bad.
CBS News has learned the Saudis are preparing a plan where they will say Khashoggi's death was the result of an interrogation gone wrong. The Washington Post published the passports of 7 men they say were part of the Saudi team that flew to Istanbul to confront Khashoggi. The New York Times reports at least one of the men is a frequent companion of the Crown Prince. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo traveled to Saudi Arabia Wednesday to meet with the Saudi Crown Prince and King. Pompeo called their conversations direct and candid. A Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, an ally of President Trump, says the prince has to go.
I know what I'm going to do. We're going to sanction the hell out of Saudi Arabia.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions says serious evaluation is being given to whether U.S. law enforcement officials will help with the investigation. Angelica Alvarez, CBS News, the White House.
Turkish officials told journalists police were looking for traces of toxic materials in the Saudi consulate and that parts of the consulate had recently been painted.
Facebook is trying to stop the spread of false information ahead of the upcoming midterm election. The site banning fake content designed to suppress voter turnout. In 2016, Facebook started prohibiting misrepresentations about the dates, locations, times, and qualifications for casting a ballot. This week, the company extended that policy to include statements about whether a vote will be counted and misleading posts about how to vote. Facebook says it uses real people, including third-party fact checkers, to review content that is flagged as potential voter suppression.
People who live along the Colorado River in central Texas have been told to evacuate as the area deals with major flooding. Fast-moving water washed away a bridge in Kingsland, Texas this morning as heavy rains caused the river to swell. The high flood water swept boats, jet skis, and other debris down the river. Emergency crews are helping people evacuate, and in some cases, helicopters were needed to get residents out.
Meteorologist Dave Caulfield joining us now with a look at our local forecast. Another chilly one, a little breezy today, and more of the same coming, right?
Yes, and a little bit cooler tomorrow because those winds shift out of the southwest to the northwest, and that makes a big difference when it comes to our high temperatures, even with the amount of sunshine that we saw. So let's take a look at our weather headlines first. We'll start with this picture from Denise looking towards Stoughton. Thank you so much for sending this in. So the 3 things that we're talking about: a cooler Wednesday and up and down temperatures. Really, this whole month has been pretty up and down in temperature land, and that trend looks to continue. And some showers, maybe even a few flurries as everything comes to an end on Saturday. More on that in just a little bit. High temperatures today in the upper 50s and lower 60s across the area. 57 in Madison, 62 in Bosque Bell, 60 the high in Lone Rock. Our October temperatures, as I mentioned, really all over the map. When it was warm, it was really, really warm. Look at that, plus 14, plus 21 in that stretch last week. And then really over the last 6 or 7 days, we've been below normal for our high temperatures. And I think that trend will continue tomorrow because we have that high of 47 in the forecast. We will be back into the 50s for Thursday and Friday, but keep in mind, folks, we should be in the upper 50s, closer to 60 for this time of year. So I think these generally below average temperatures are going to continue for the next week or so. Doppler track showing quiet conditions across southern Wisconsin, some snow showers well to the north and some rain showers to our north and east. Zooming in, I think this stays quiet on Doppler track for the next couple of days. Now, as we head into Friday, that's when our next chance of seeing some light rain activity comes back into town. Downtown Madison on the Edgewater Skycam, looking at those mostly clear skies. Temperatures right now are in the upper 40s. For the most part, still running pretty warm compared to this time yesterday, about 10 to 15 degrees. That wind has died down a little bit. That's good news. The not so great news, if you're not a fan of the wind, is it will be back to its breezy self as we head into tomorrow. So we could see some more garbage cans knocked over. I know this morning when I came outside with that breeze, my garbage can was teetering and tottering. I think that will happen over the next couple of days in spots as well before that wind subsides closer to the weekend. Now, overnight, mostly clear and cold again with temperatures dropping into the mid-30s. For tomorrow, lots of sun, breezy once again, and a little bit colder because, as I mentioned, the prevailing wind not out of the southwest anymore. That helps us get some warmer temperatures instead out of the northwest, bringing some cooler air into town. So starting off in the 30s for tomorrow morning, then we'll reach highs in the mid to upper 40s for tomorrow. Still plenty of sunshine, so at least that's the good news. Then we'll be off to another chilly start for Thursday morning, and we'll be back into the 50s by Thursday afternoon. By the time we get to later this weekend, really not expecting much in the way of any showers, probably about 1/10 of an inch at most, so that's at least good news. We don't need to worry about really heavy rain in this setup, but we'll keep those shower chances in the forecast for Friday and for Saturday, especially Friday late into Saturday is our best chance of seeing some showers, and then a couple of flurries are possible before everything is said and done. On Saturday, the dry weather persists after that with highs back into the 50s, and we could see some 60s once again. I'm crossing my fingers for that because I'm not exactly ready for these chilly temperatures to stick around. I'm still looking at my closet, seeing that I need to change from kind of winter, to winter from summer. And I'm not really too excited about it.
At least there's a lot of sunshine in that 10
days. Yeah, so that's the important
something to hang on to.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Will Aaron Rodgers be more mobile after the bye weekend? Did Mike McCarthy think last night was a must-win for the Packers? The answer's just ahead in sports.
News.
The Brewers and Los Angeles Dodgers had a late start for Game 4 of the National League Championship Series. First pitch was just after 8 o'clock Central Time. It's been another pitcher's duel. It's 1-1 in the 6th. Brewers tied it on Domingo Santana's pinch hit RBI double in the 5th. Game 5 of the NLCS is tomorrow afternoon at Dodger Stadium. Wade Miley and Clayton Kershaw, the starting pitchers. First pitch just after 4 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. In the American League Championship Series, Boston goes up 2-1 on Houston with an 8-2 win. The Packers hit their bye week with a 3-2-1 record. The road gets tougher, though, after the break as the Packers play the undefeated Rams in Los Angeles, then travel to New England. But with a week off, Aaron Rodgers' bulky left knee will get a much-needed rest. Rodgers appeared to tweak the knee again last night, but still threw for 425 yards and showed good mobility on this important scramble for a first down in the game-winning drive. Some thought last night was a must-win for the Packers' playoff hopes. Mike McCarthy wouldn't quite go that far.
You have to win your home games. It's an NFC game, and you know, obviously the urgency of what happened, 8 days earlier in Detroit. So it's about improving and winning. Excellent team win. The adversity component, as far as the number of times we've been in these situations so far this year, I'm hopeful, and going off of past experience, I think this will pay dividends for us as a football team.
Here's a sign of the times. Ohio State defensive end Nick Bosa suffered a core muscle injury in the Buckeyes' win against TCU September 15th and hasn't played since. Today, Bosa announces he's leaving Ohio State to focus on getting ready for the 2019 NFL Draft. Bosa's injury isn't expected to affect his draft status. He's withdrawing from school because he doesn't want to risk aggravating the injury. Over the weekend, Badger women's hockey coach Mark Johnson became the winningest Division I coach in history. With 465 wins, Johnson is now ahead of Mercyhurst's Michael Stissy and Harvard's Katie Stone. The winningest men's coach is Johnson's close friend, Boston College's Jerry York, who's 74 years old. Will the 61-year-old Mark Johnson be coaching when he's 74?
As long as you keep enjoying going to the rink on a daily basis and you think you're having an impact on the group that you're working with, then you're going to continue to do it. But at 74, no.
The postseason begins for high school girls volleyball and boys soccer tonight. We stopped by a couple of first-round soccer games, including the Division I matchup as the 12th seed Badger plays the 5th seed Sun Prairie. 20th minute, Sun Prairie's Kyle Hagerman finds the back of the net. Cardinals on the board early, 1-0. 8 minutes later, Hagerman, who's going to play soccer at Butler University, gets by his defender again, rolls it past the goalie, gets his second of the night. Final score was Sun Prairie 9 and Badger 2. And on the way back, a stop in Monona where MG hosts Reedsburg in a Division II matchup. 14th minute there, Zach Zilke to Daniel Grady. He scores for the first goal of the night. Silver Eagles leading the Beavers 1-0. 11 minutes later, Monona Grove's Connor Brackett with the throw-in. Jacob Munns with a nice header for the score, and the Silver Eagles beat Reedsburg 4-0. They'll face DeForest Saturday, and we'll be right back.
Goal scored by number 8, Jacob Munns. With the assist.
And we have a final check of your forecast. Dave Caulfield.
Little chilly tonight with temperatures falling into the mid-30s to start off tomorrow. For tomorrow, temperatures will be a little bit chillier, but we'll still have a lot of sunshine, so at least that's good news. Highs should make it into the mid to upper 70s. Then, as we take a look at the 7 to 10 day forecast, shower chances come back on Friday and Saturday, maybe even a few flurries by the time we end Saturday.
All right, Dave, thanks. Thanks for joining us.
Do something good, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.